hello, everyone. This is the Aphrodisiac Podcast. I'm your host, Malcolm Jackson.
This episode has been brought to you by sexenhancers.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Aphrodisiac Podcast. I'm your host, Malcolm Jackson, and we're here with Summer Haze, my regular guest. How you doing today, Summer?
I'm doing good, Malcolm. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm well rested now. I've been working these what we call in the medical field the knock shift. So I work 10 to 6.
10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that would work for me. They would find me in the broom closet.
Yeah, but it's been going good, and I'm glad to have a job.
Amen.
Feel blessed.
That's right.
Yeah. So just remind our audience real quick about your business and what you do on a daily, and then we'll jump into this topic for today.
So Summer Haze Consulting, we help nonprofit organizations in areas where they need help in project management, other things like volunteer services, and just try to fill in the gaps for nonprofit organizations while they work hard to fulfill their mission. So yeah.
That's wonderful. All right. Well, today our subject is, what does intimacy mean to you? That sounds like a good one. So I pulled up the definitions for just intimacy in general, and then sexual intimacy. So I'm going to read the dictionary says, intimacy in a relationship is a feeling of being close and emotionally connected and supported. It means being able to share a whole range of thoughts, feelings, and experiences that we have as human beings. And then what is intimate sexuality? Intimate sex is a symmetrical experience in which partners take turns pleasuring each other and looking at one another at the same time. Foreplay is so important to intimate sex. Foreplay is the only part of the sexual script where partners generally take turns pleasuring one another. So let's talk about that a little bit. What based on those definitions, what does intimacy mean to you, just personally, as a woman, as a Black woman?
Well, what's funny, because I was like, oh my God, intimacy includes looking at each other. I need to do better.
But you have your eyes closed?
Well, eyes closed, looking somewhere, thinking about my shopping list, like all kinds of stuff.
Oh, you better hope your husband don't watch this.
Right? But it makes me hone in on intimacy a little bit more, and how you need to be present, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important to be present. I think, being a mom, being a wife, being an organizer in the community, nonprofit director, it's a lot. So when you're able to be in that moment, but in that, just what you said, I just like being very critical of myself, that I need to be in that moment. I don't need to be outside that moment. But anyway, intimacy, I always used to tell guys that I date, like, I would tell my friends about guys that I dated. It would be like, if men only knew what they could get from starting intimacy earlier in the day, right? Because one time my husband, who's my boyfriend now, he did something special. I'm not worried about the
boyfriend. He's your husband now.
Yeah, no, he was my boyfriend then when this happened.
But you just said my husband. He's my boyfriend now. That's what you said.
Oh, sorry. I demoted him.
Yeah, you did real quick. Y'all just got married.
Oh God, he'd kill me if he heard that. But so listen, yeah. So my boyfriend then, he's my husband now, he one time cleaned the kitchen so good. When I came home, the kitchen was smelling so good. I was like, see, this is the type of intimacy I'm talking about. So I think intimacy, of course, goes beyond the bedroom, that sexual intimacy,
sure.
But the real intimacy starts with, I feel giving. And when the woman is stretched so many different places, I pick up Johnny from school, I take him to school, I go to, because he's not available because he works the second shift. So when you do something special like bring me flowers, that starts the intimacy.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a mixture of a lot of stuff. But
do you feel like, because I'm sure a lot of couples feel this way, do you feel like there was a lot more intimacy way back when, like when you first started dating, or and then it's something that you have to work on now? I mean, how do you feel about where you were before as opposed to now?
So, of course, when you don't have kids, the house is it's free range. Right. It's a football field of intimacy, right? Oh my gosh. So kids don't direct that. So I think, of course, time, when you have more time, more freedom, the intimacy was like popping off, Right. But I feel like we do a good job making room for intimacy. I think too, because he's gone from the house so much, it's kind of a natural occurrence. Like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you, like that. But when we were in COVID-19 and together all the time, I'm like, I didn't have enough. So us being apart a lot, it kind of helps with, maintaining intimacy. But, men need to, and I say this because I'm a woman, right? But men need to understand their power, right? I met this guy in the store in Walmart the other day, and he looked at me with these puppy dog eyes. I was like, what's wrong with you? He said, man, I ain't been home in 2 days. I'm trying to find the right flowers. And I said, well, listen, if you were away from my house for 2 days and we're in a committed relationship, these flowers wouldn't be enough. I said, walk in the house and start washing dishes and picking up stuff out of the living room, and she'll forgive you right off the bat. So the flowers will help, but shoot, that's just icing on the cake. Right. My goodness.
Let's talk about, this show is about relationships, love, but relationships aren't restricted just to, partnership between a couple. So let's talk about, I know you have some really close friends, some of them I know. Let's talk about intimacy with your friends and intimacy with your family. But let's talk about what it feels like, or what it's like to have an intimate relationship with your friends.
Because that also reminds me of how, when you have a baby, the first thing they do is do the skin to skin contact, right?
Yeah.
Because they want you to have these intimate moments with this new baby so you can continue to bond.
Right.
And that's the same gesture that I give to my friends, right? So we go on trips to Mexico together. We have these rules that, everybody put your phone away, stop being on social media,
Right.
so that we can have intimate time together, because, people get married, people have babies, we're apart. And so this intimate time is very necessary, because with social media, it's easy to make friends now, right? Friends.
Right? I was going to say they're not real friends. It's easy.
Right.
It's easy to meet people.
Exactly. Yeah. Meet people. Because I saw this lady in the grocery store. So not my friend. She was like, hey, Summer. Oh my God, it's so good to see you. She hugged me. She embraced me like a friend. And I had no idea what her name was. And she's like, it's so good to see you and your son on social media every day. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, I feel like I just been hugged by a stranger, and it was a stranger.
You're getting older, and you find yourself reminiscing more and more on the days of your youth when you could just keep going and going and going. Those days aren't behind you thanks to our wide variety of male and female enhancement products available on sexenhancers.com. Testosterone levels in men lower as you age. Our all-natural sustain formula supplement can help stimulate your libido and improve blood flow, making you feel as good as in your prime. And bring that little spark to your love life. See for yourself our wide array of vitamins, supplements, and enhancers on sexenhancers.com.
But it's important to maintain these real friendships by, through intimacy. I send my friends cards. They'll tell you all the time, Summer will send a card if she don't do nothing else, because one thing I learned from my Jehovah's Witness friends is just not about celebrating holidays, but appreciating people around the clock. You know what I mean?
Hold on a minute. Hold on. I didn't get my postcard, though, from Mexico. You send your friend.
Let me tell you, Malcolm.
We friends. Where's my card?
Malcolm, let me tell you.
Postcard.
I forgot about the postcard, and I had it in my hand, and it's so humid and wet in Mexico. Like when you get to your room, your whole bed is damp. Right. So when I got back to my room the last day, I'm like, it's a little tray. They even provide postcards for you to send, right? It's a little tray. And the postcard was curled up. It was wet. It was toe up. So I said, you know what? I'm about to send Malcolm a screenshot. I got a video of the beach though for you.
Oh, okay. That's what's up.
You can fall asleep to it too. It's pretty long. So
Did you post some pictures on Facebook?
No, I had to stop doing that because the nature of my job, don't want those non-intimate folks to know my every move.
Speaking of your job, so this lady that I just started dating a few weeks ago, so today she's going on a retreat for her job, and she said that they all had to write these cards about how do you feel about me, and she was like, it's just embarrassing, and basically they're all going to go to this retreat where they're supposed to engage with each other, but everybody's lying, you know what I'm saying, because you can't really tell people the truth. I think you should be able to have intimate enough relationships with people that you work with, especially when you've been working somewhere for a long time, to, tell them how you really feel. I mean, there's a nice way to say you ain't doing your job, or, could you, step it up a little bit, but I just thought that was funny because, of the subject that we're talking about today. But I do think you should be, I think we live in a world where people just aren't real with each other anymore,
They don't have to be, because they can live this fantasy life through social media, right? You got filters that will take away your cheeks. I mean, the fat in your cheeks to make your nose smaller. I just saw this filter the other day. It was a forehead filter, okay? They're taking away foreheads. Now, we live in a crazy world.
Right.
It's like you can't even embrace anything because everything is so instant. I know I have a friend that she went and got a mommy makeover, right? And, that's important to a lot of mommies because we lose a lot of our body when we have babies. We sacrifice our bodies for life. And that's a sacrifice that I would do over and over again. But still, you got to, after you finish having babies, you still have to be intimacy with your man or your woman or whatever. And you want to look your best, But she went out and got this stuff done. And she told me I'm still not happy because that's the problem. It's people are trying to fix the outer when it's really the inner, Yeah. And it goes back to being intimate even with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And being honest with yourself. And I like to do that through journaling, right? Look back, this time last year, I was in a dark place.
Me too.
I was in a dark place. And it was very common because we were at home, we couldn't leave. We had to be in the house by 10 p.m. It was very stressful, Not to mention that electric bill is hella high because everybody was at home. I'm still paying off that thing from last year, okay?
Yeah.
So
Mine was big too. Fortunately, I got some help.
yeah.
But
But you know that whole intimacy thing too about, well, for one thing about it, I hate the cheesy coworkers. Going back to the retreat,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to retreat with my coworkers. I retreat with them every day at 8 o'clock. You know, and thank goodness I run my own business, so I'm my own coworker. However, Malcolm, like I used to hate those activities where you have to really lie.
Yeah.
For one, you don't really know the person enough
Right.
to,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying it can become intimate, but that intimate, but that's also the old way of thinking. If you think about it, people hardly work 8 to 5 like they did. There's so many options now. There's
Right.
entrepreneurship, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go in there and telling lies, because we had to do something. You wore this thing on your back and people wrote on your back what they felt about you.
Mm.
And you didn't see it until the next day when you read all these things that people said. And they were nice things, that's fine, but still.
Did you know who wrote them?
No.
See, if they didn't know, I would just tell the truth. I mean, I think it's meant to help you be a better worker, be a better coworker. You know, I mean, some people need to know that their skill set is either not being, used to its fullest. You know, your customer service is not the best. You know, you can be nicer, to people, to your customers, to your coworkers. That I don't think will hurt my feelings. I mean, like your boss has to do an evaluation. And they're not going to just lie, to not, so they don't make you feel bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
But I think these kind of things are to build this morale around coworkers, right? To get to know, to where you're like, if you need someone to take your shift, you feel like you can go to this person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then it becomes this mess because everybody knows that the workplace is super messy, right? It can be.
Yeah, it can be.
And but I will say that I have coworkers that I view as lifelong friends,
mm-hmm.
right? Lifelong friends where we've been through a lot together. We've gained weight together at the state of California. You know what I mean? We've done it all. We've eaten cold spaghetti for lunch, that kinds of stuff. So, but I just really value intimate relationships, like just friendships. You don't have to keep in touch with people.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because it's something that over the years, I've had a problem with. How do you maintain intimate relationship with your male friends? Because a lot of times, guys, that's hard for guys, and girls can be like, yeah, let's, but it's real easy for us to take it somewhere else, just in our head. So how
Right.
how do you approach? And then have you ever like noticed that one of your guy friends was kind of veering that way, and then like how did you deal with it? So how do you deal with that? Just keep an intimate relationship with the man, but then just keep it, as a friendship.
Well, one time I said to my friend, which is a female, I said, I have so many male friends because I think I'm not with the drama, and I don't want to be super general here,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never been with the drama. I've just been very straightforward type of person. But males have also been very attracted to my friendship because I'm like, get your stuff together. Don't no woman want no man with a beard that's worthless. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What they want you to do is stand up and be a man, and take ownership for the stuff that you've done. And I think about my male friends. I don't know where I would be without them, but it's kind of weird to be married and have male friends. And in the sense, because before, like one of my male friends, he always had a key to my house, always had a key to my house. And it was because his son lived in Sacramento. I was single.
Mm-hmm.
His son lived in Sacramento, and I just wanted to help them so bad, to keep their relationship going, right?
Mm-hmm.
They was like doing homework in the car, and I'm like, I can't have that.
Mm.
So I would come home from work, they would be there doing homework, having dinner cooked, whatever. And people were like, are you sure ain't nothing else going on? I'm like, no, not one thing. Like we didn't even have to establish that. It was like, that's just what it was. But we're in the same fraternity sorority. We did, someone did hook us up with this intent. But the minute I had one conversation, I said, not my type. So we've been friends over 25 years. So I'm sorry, over 20 years. So, but I have good male relationships, very, very good, healthy relationships. And it's not that one that you'd be like, oh, that's my brother. Right. And y'all done who banged for 15 years. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
It's not that. It's not, I'll fry you some chicken if you fix my doors. None of that, I'll let you grease my turkey if you, none of that, I don't think I have one of those instances because it's just weird when people say that and you already know that they've been.
Right.
So
I will say, as long as I've known you, you are, I can see how, you're able to have like really healthy relationships with men. Because you're just cool. You are like a sister, like, that's the vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But then sometimes you don't want to be that sister.
Right.
I remember some guy, I was like not trying to date him because I never really went after men like that. It was just always natural. And he was like, you're so silly. Oh my God. Thanks for being such a good sister. I'm like, I ain't trying to be your sister. Oh my God. So I was like, man, he's looking at me as a sister. I'm not cool with that.
Yeah, I've had that happen before too, like that big brother and like, you're like, man.
Right. Don't big brother, don't big sister me. I ain't trying to be in that category. Right. And I just feel like when men call you women silly, it's like, I'd never date you. Yeah. That's just code for that. But yeah, but I think my relationships comes from my mom and dad, the way I view relationships, because they've been married over 43 years. And so I look at their relationship as like, if they can make it, listen, I know I can make it. But beyond that, my dad he was very traditional. Ain't no man gonna entertain my woman, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to be the opposite. But now here's the problem, Malcolm. The problem is when your male friends you've known for many years, there's nothing ever happened, nothing weird ever, and then they get married. Becoming friends with those wives is a hot mess.
Oh, I bet, yeah. Because they don't know. And
they don't understand.
Yeah, it's based on what you said before, which is there's so many people that done hooked up and then they try to play the friend role.
Right.
Yeah, I actually had, that was a big contentious point in my marriage, was my continued relationship with Amber. And maybe I shouldn't have said her name, but I did. But anyway, so I can see, how that, how that's difficult for the other woman.
But then you think about this. I would be okay. So if my husband doesn't have female friends, so he does, but I'm on speakerphones with I plan events with my male friends, like it's community stuff, all this stuff. But think about this. If my husband says, Summer, this is my friend, yada, 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 I want you to meet her, whatever. I'm okay with that. I think it's okay. I would embrace that. And if things got weird, there's no grace for that. There's no grace for forgiveness because you set me up to fail, right?
Right.
If I'm going to introduce you to a male friend that I love so dearly, like a brother, because my friend one of my male friends, he and I are closer than my real brother. You know what I mean? And so, but I'm saying, to me, that gives you this leverage in your relationship, because if anything goes down, you brought this to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
since you mentioned your parents and being married 42 years, do you still see a sense of intimacy between them? You know, I mean, obviously they're older, and but yeah, I mean, what do you see, or is it just kind of this? You know, they love each other, but it's just more functioning. But do you see, you know, either one of those definitions of intimacy with them?
So my mom fights my dad, like, get away from me, but you know she like it,
right?
Because she ain't moving. She don't got her own room, because I do know some husband and wives that's been married just as long as my parents, who have their own rooms and nobody knows about it until you go visit their homes, you know.
And they still might not tell you, because you don't need to be up in their bedroom, but
right. Unless, you know, you're a social worker and you have to go in there or whatever. But I've seen it with even church folks. I've seen it with my own eyes. And how you know it's a separate bedrooms is because they're closed, the closets. And I'm nosy. But I was trained to be nosy, you know, as a social worker. You're trained to look for signs, you know, of abuse and all that.
Right.
So anyhow, my parents are they still hold hands. They still go out to eat together. You know, they have a 14-year-old, so she's kind of a blocker, you know. So, but they're still at it. And I think they've been literally married since they were 18. It's like, what the heck? 18 years old. And they had me. That's the thing. So they've been through a lot to be together. There shouldn't be any excuses why marriages can't work, you know.
Well, there are plenty, but there's
a ton.
There shouldn't be. Yeah.
A ton of excuses. Yeah. But, you know, I just think it's I don't know. It's a commitment. You got to want it, right? Me and my husband, we were together for 10 years. And we started off as a booty call, and I'm proud to say that, because here's the deal.
Own it.
Owning it is half the battle. So we started off as like this, you know, convenient relationship with no commitment, just like, oh, he's so sweet. And we were friends in high school. But I tell people all the time, but you see how this works, because half these people who meet on the subway, their eyes lock, and then they start dating, and then they get married within 1 to 2 years. It don't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not to say that this was the right thing. We started off in that, like, this convenient relationship. Then we got back together, had a baby, and then here we are 10 years, you know, married. So it's like one of those things where you just like embracing every moment, you know. And I think that's where the intimacy is sustainable, because we're like, if we got through a whole lot of things, being long distance, different states, you know, and all that. So, but yeah, it's just, you know, one of those things. But that shows you how society looks on things, frowns upon things. I went to a wedding and I overheard this lady say, look at the bride, has way too many tattoos. It's like, what the hell? Who says that? First of all, that's like me saying, look at the bride, she has way too many eyelashes. Who are you to say that, you know? Especially
at a wedding.
At a wedding.
And she was so loud. Oh, she was loud.
She was loud, and I know her name for a fact was Gladys. Hella messy.
It wasn't Karen.
It wasn't Karen. It was Gladys. But I feel like, you know, understanding what's right for you is the first priority, right? You know, the first priority. My brother has been with his girlfriend for 14 years, never married. And we have 43 years of blissful marriage as an example with our parents.
That's right. Yeah, that's wonderful. I always love to hear about the couples that make it that long. I think that's a beautiful thing. Well, we got just a couple more minutes before we do, and I think the last podcast, I asked the guest whatever subject we were talking about, but I asked her. I threw in children because those are relationships, and so give me an idea about how you have an intimate relationship with your son, especially as he's grown.
So with my son, I've always, and my friends tease me because I'm like, okay, guys, I gotta go. We'll be FaceTiming. Oh, I gotta go. I have to tuck my son in. And they thought that was the funniest thing. And I was like, what's so funny about that? They were like, well, how old is he? I'm like, he's 9 years old. And I will tuck him in as long as he allows me to.
Right.
Can you imagine breastfeeding somebody till they're 3 years old and then not tucking them in for the rest of their lives? Doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
So I have a very intimate. So in the mornings when I take him to school, no music, just he and I talking. We pray, we talk about things. I make a space for him, right? Even if it's complete silence, I make the space for him, and then when we come back from school, we jam out. I'm talking about what's on the playlist, Johnny. He get his phone out and start making playlists for us to listen to. So we have a really good relationship, and it started with our common issue in schools was bullying. He was bullied. I was bullied. And I just told him we got to take a radical approach to bullying. And I think he looks at me as a hero because I go up in that school and say, who's bullying my son? Right. It's like that serious. Right. And I've always taught him to just be strong. When I said, when a bully comes towards you, you stand up on a chair and said, this guy's bullying me. And he did that, taking a stand and just teaching him that it's okay to be open. Because in a lot of Black families, there's a lot of secrets, and I don't want my son to have to deal with that. Right. So we are very open, and I think our openness our intimacy has created this openness that, I'm hoping that he'll teach his children. So
that's beautiful. Yeah. Well, what a great way to end the podcast and to, just talk about intimacy in different realms of life. So as usual, Summer, it's a pleasure to hang out with you and talk to you and see you, and wishing you and your family a blessed rest of the week. And we just want to say thank you for partaking in the Aphrodisiac podcast, where we talk about love, relationships, sex, intimacy, and I just encourage you all to take care of yourself and especially each other. Until next time, be good. Thank you.
This episode of the Aphrodisiac Podcast was brought to you by sexenhancers.com.